it going, everyone? The 1MFP here. I hope you're all doing great today. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, and we are just a couple of days away from the release of 21 Pilot's upcoming album CLANCY. It's being released this Friday, May 24th, and I mean, honestly, it's less than 2 days away because it's the evening right now as I'm recording this. By the time I upload this, it will be even less time until then, probably just a few hours, less than a day. So the excitement level is really high. I'm really amped up. This whole, reaction thing, I basically started right around the time that Trench was coming out. And 21 Pilots were one of the first artists I really got into doing a series for. So you really got to see me discover the band's music as a whole, and it's been really fun doing that. But to be here a few years later, getting ready to react to an album that is supposed to kind of conclude the whole concept of Dima, it's just really exciting. But before we get into CLANCY, 21 Pilots just released a few hours ago the music video to the Craving, which, I mean, it deviates from the pattern we've seen thus far with the releases off of CLANCY. We've kind of just been getting releases in the order of the track listing. So we got tracks 1 through 3, but here we're getting track 7. However, I do notice that this is the single version of the Craving, whereas on the album you have Jenna's version. And in fact, if I go through my Apple Music, I notice that the Craving is not available to be played. So I don't know how different they are from one another. It's going to be interesting to see that. I was kind of hesitant to react to this at all, given that the album is being released so soon. I was thinking may as well just react to the album as a whole. Through the album reaction, I'll get to react to the song. But here we have a music video, so that's one thing, and it is possible that this song differs enough from the version that appears on the album that it could be interesting to compare the two. And on top of that, I have a new setup for the album reaction. I'm going to be using speakers as opposed to the setup I was using in the past, where I kind of had headphones on, but I was also playing the audio through my amp so that it could be heard through the camera. Now I have a mic as well, which is different from past album reactions. So there's a lot of things I'm trying to test out here so that the album reaction goes smoothly. So this is the perfect opportunity to do that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on in this reaction, but most importantly, I'm just excited to hear this new song and see what kind of music video accompanies it. So without further ado, let's jump right into this reaction. Oh. Paint bottles. Ooh, I like this already.
Seems I get in my own way. The more I think, the less I say. Now I see intentions don't mean much. Say enough, did I let it know if I found my body in chains, in hope she looks for me. She just wants to get you away, ride it out to the end of the days. Now I see a gesture don't mean much. Say enough, did I let it know if I found my body in chains. I lay down and wait, and hope she looks for me.
What is that, a rabbit?
It's the fear of the unknown that cripples every step we take. And I just hate to put this on her, but I swear that I will give more than I take.
It's really great woodwork. Great artistry. Oh, that's what that was.
Whoa! That's a miss. Next.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. Their faces really summarize the feeling here. Oh. Oh man, I had no clue that's what they were making. They invested all this time into that bullet just for it to be wasted like that. I don't know what to think of that. That's just so sad. It was so intricately made with the rabbits and all of that, and I don't know, the rabbits being on the bullet altogether. I do feel like it has some type of significance to what was it, Heavy Dirty Soul, where death inspires him like a dog inspires a rabbit. It inspires him to run. He's fearful of death, and the rabbit is kind of a symbol for that, and I feel like that's what we had here with this music video. But beyond the rabbit and its significance, and Tyler choosing to do this on a bullet, we have another music video where Josh is being supportive of whatever Tyler wants to do, right? Tyler's designing, or is making designs for this bullet, for this activity he's going out to do. Josh is behind him creating this box, this casing for the bullet to be transported in. So it's like he's just this supporting character that's just always there for Tyler. This is the same thing we saw with the last music video, To Backslide, where Josh is making the burger. It seems like he's just making one burger, and potentially he's just making that burger for Tyler. He has no other reason to be at that grill other than to help Tyler. If he were making one for himself, then we could argue that he's just doing this whole barbecue and he's inviting Tyler over, but that's not really the case in that music video. Josh is just there helping provide Tyler with what he needs. And this trend goes pretty far back. If you go to the videos that fall within the narrative of Dima, Josh is doing a similar thing throughout those videos. He is there to help Tyler, who we now find is Clancy. Outside of the lore videos, you have like Chlorine and whatnot, and Josh is doing the same thing. He's there to support Tyler, and he's doing that same thing here. So we have that continuity remaining intact, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But this video really leaves me with a lot of curiosity. I'm stuck here with a lot of intrigue. It feels like this is a really simple video, but there's like these key moments that really resonate for whatever reason, like when they show both what Tyler invested his time into and what Josh invested his time into. And then they go off and they shoot that bullet, and Tyler's bullet just like that is gone. And while he's designing that bullet, you kind of have shots of like the artwork behind him. I don't know, it just feels like some of the paintings behind him could have been unfinished, and maybe there's significance to that. He's choosing to turn his attention away from the things he was working on to work on this one thing that isn't so permanent. It's something that's going to be shot and then it'll be done. And then to have that contrasting shot later on where they show what Tyler worked on and what Josh worked on. What Josh worked on is more permanent in a way. It's not something that's going to be gone after they attend this event, right? This box, it could be used for multiple things. And I don't know. I wonder if there's some type of significance to that. Is it referring to the stability that Josh provides? I just talked about him being supportive and kind of consistently being supportive across many music videos. The fact that he's making this box, does it represent some type of stability? Whereas Tyler chose to take a risk with this bullet here and it didn't pay off. It kind of, all that work he put into it was just gone once the bullet was shot off. Part of me does feel like this video is somehow a representation of, one of Tyler's fears of, investing his time and efforts into this thing that, he really only has one shot at, or so he feels, right? He's talked about music a lot from that perspective. What he makes is really important to him. It's important for him to be able to express himself, but it's also important that the people like his music. That's a pressure he's explicitly mentioned on a song like Pet Cheetah. He's also referred to other pressures, like the fact that music is now a moneymaker for him. It's what he relies on to provide for his family. That was mentioned in Chlorine. So he has this nagging feeling that while music benefits him in a ton of ways, it could also just be taken away from him really quickly. Well, here it feels like this music video could be a representation of that fear, right? Like he has this one shot to make something that'll hit, but it could miss, and all that work could be for nothing, and he could just be completely depressed by that. But I think the silver lining in that is that despite the possibility of the shot not hitting, despite the possibility of all that work seemingly being for nothing, he chose to go forward with it. He chose to invest his time and effort into designing that bullet and expressing himself with it. He included symbols that mean something to him. They resonate with him for one reason or another. I already referred to the rabbits and what I think they may signify. He chose to include that in the bullet. He personalized it in a way that was meaningful to him, despite the possibility that it could technically go to waste. And yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes my thoughts regarding the music video at this time. I do want to jump into the lyrics of the song to get a better idea of the meaning behind it, and I'll let you know how those lyrics resonate with me, how I read into them. So let's get right into that. So the song starts as such. Seems I get in my own way. The more I think, the less I say. I hope I communicate the craving. Now I see intentions don't mean much. So I basically just see that as him expressing that he's overthinking. We get explicit mention of the title of the track really early on here, but we don't quite know what the craving is. We just know that he intends on sharing what the craving is with the audience, but he's not quite sure that he'll be able to get that off of his chest. He's getting in his own way with that. Then we have the chorus where he says, "Say enough. Did I let her know if I found my body in chains, I'd lay down and wait and hope she looks for me." And the she here, again, we don't quite know who she is, but given that the track on the album is titled The Craving, Jenna's version, I'm assuming the she is Jenna, and him referring to his body in chains, it does feel like, given what we heard in verse 1, that's just this metaphor to say that he's locked himself up. He's tried to push forward, but he's wrapped himself in these chains that he can't get free from, and so he's just stuck in a place where he can't move forward. That can be from like a creative standpoint, that can be from, just a philosophical standpoint where he's trying to progress as a human being, but he's kind of just being his worst enemy in that way, which is something we've explored at length in past albums. He's got like these two sides to him, and he doesn't quite know where he should stand. He doesn't know what side is good and what side is bad. He's come to find that both have good and bad within them. What is good could become bad, and what is bad can provide some type of good. So because of that, in trying to just think about what he should do and what is right and what is wrong, he tends to, kind of get frozen. He experiences some type of paralysis in that regard. And I feel like that's what's being referred to here. He feels like he will inevitably hit a wall at some point, and he'll be completely stuck. He won't be able to progress, and he's not going to panic in those instances. He's going to wait for his wife to kind of help him through that, and that's another element that we've explored quite a bit, especially through Trench. He talked about the importance of having support and being able to lean on people. Here he trusts his wife in that regard. He's saying that if he finds himself in that place, he trusts that he could lean on his wife and expect that she will help him get through and help set him free from those chains. Now moving along to the second verse, she just wants to catch a wave, ride off to the end of days. I hope that I could satiate the craving. Now I see the gesture don't mean much. So we have the verse ending off in a very similar way to verse 1. Talking about something that doesn't mean much. In this case, it's the gesture, whereas in verse 1 it was the intention. And we also have him referring to the craving once more. Verse 1 he was talking about communicating it, here he's talking about satiating it. What precedes those lines here in verse 2 potentially provides us with what we need to define the craving. She just wants to catch a wave, ride off to the end of days. Perhaps the craving is simply enjoying life. It seems that that's what Jenna wants to do, or at least that's what he perceives that Jenna wants to do with their life. But he's saying that he's come to find that the gesture doesn't mean much. And I guess the way I read into that is that he feels like he could say that he wants to provide that life for her, but something about the way he's going about doing so isn't quite good enough. So let's move along to the later parts of the song to see what other information we're provided with, and maybe it'll help clarify that. So I'm going to skip the chorus because it's the same as before. So the next thing we have is the outro, because it's fear of the unknown that cripples every step we take. And I just hate to put this on her, but I swear that I will give more than I take away. The craving, now I see intentions don't mean much. So with the music video, I did refer to how I felt like the bullet as well as the art behind him was some kind of representation of his relationship with music. Much like I said with Backslide, I do feel like it's more generalizable than that. I don't feel like it's exclusive to music, but just with the themes we had in the past songs, that's what I could relate it to the most. At the end of the day, music is just, extremely important for him. As he said in Chlorine, it's the paper maker now. It's how he provides for his family. It's his job. It's one of the things that is going to cause him to overthink the most, of course, just because of how involved it is with his life. So when he says something like fear of the unknown, of course it applies way beyond music itself. But given the context and the two people we're talking about here, Tyler and Jenna, I can't help but think back to a song like Saturday, where you have Tyler and Jenna speaking over the phone in that little segment where it seems like Tyler is just completely lost in his music. And, that song really describes the cycle he's in, where it feels like he just can't get anything out there. He can't get the creative juices flowing, and he's just working at it as much as he can and investing so much time in it, and he's losing track of reality because of it. He's being distanced from his reality and the people he loves, in this case Jenna, and she's just out there living her life, right? She wants to go to sleep at that point in time. He wants to watch the show with her, but he's unable to do that because he's just so honed in on the music. So bringing that notion here and tying it into what I was saying about how the bullet could represent music in a sense where the shot may not hit, the what he's investing his time into may be for nothing in his mind. I don't think that that's actually possible. He puts his music out there, it's going to resonate with somebody. They may not all be the biggest hit in the world, they may not all live up to his expectations, but I think it's going to be significant to at least someone out there. So I don't think that's possible, but this is about how he envisions it, right? How he conceptualizes it in his mind. And he does feel like the effort can be for nothing in the end. And I think that bullet not hitting its target is a depiction of that. And it's how they've chosen to visualize that idea of the unknown, right? You invest your time into this thing, you don't know what the conclusion will be. And you think back to those first few lines where he said, the more I think, the less I say. I feel like that relates to how the unknown affects him. He's thinking so much about what he's trying to achieve, and he gets in his own way in that regard. He's overthinking what he's trying to do. And the more he tries to navigate the unknown with certain expectations in mind, the more he's a hindrance to himself and to his process. So bringing that all back to the idea that involves the music, when he's saying, I just hate to put this on her, I got to go back to Saturday once more and that segment where you have Tyler and Jenna speaking to each other over the phone. He hates that it gets to that point where He feels like he's a nuisance to Jenna's happiness at times because he's just so involved with what he's doing that he probably feels like he neglects her in some ways. Then we have the song ending off on I Swear I Will Give More Than I Take Away, and that really brought me back to Backslide because it really felt to me in that song he was trying to justify his worth and why he's deserving of what he's asking for. There he said, I don't care, you control me, leading me anywhere. It's like he's saying, this is what I could offer, please save me. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes how I interpret the Craving after this one listen. It does feel like verse 1 and verse 2 is juxtaposing Tyler and Jenna's Craving, and they just kind of compete in a way. It just feels like there's a certain way that Tyler wants to get things done, and it causes him to overthink. Because of that, he doesn't get as much done as he expects to, and that kind of, just gets in the way of progress on his end. And on Jenna's end, she's trying to enjoy life, and that's her craving, but Tyler's getting in the way of that by, being so involved with his music. All that said, I am very interested in seeing how Jenna's version could be different from this one here. I don't know if there will be much difference at all, but it would be kind of cool to maybe get a little bit more insight into Jenna's Craving, or maybe just get her perspective on things a little more, because this very much did feel like Tyler's perspective on what he feels like he provides and how he feels like he may get in her way at times. It could be really interesting to see Jenna's take on it. I would really love to hear it from that perspective, but I really don't know what to expect from that. We'll find out in due time. The album is being released really soon, just in a couple of days. I'm going to be doing an album reaction much like I always do with the 21 Pilots albums, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I hope to see you in that video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this one. I truly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Have a great day, y'all.